Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to look at something so, well, incredibly ordinary, you probably walk right past it in your kitchen every single day. But what if I told you that this everyday object is actually the protagonist of an epic historical journey? Seriously. Today, we're reframing the story of this common fruit as a true Silk Road epic. The history of the apple is thousands of years old, and as we're going to see, it's deeply connected to ancient civilizations, vibrant cultures, and literally the most famous trade route in human history. So how did a wild mountain fruit conquer the globe? I want you to picture that ordinary apple sitting in your fruit bowl right now. You know, it's easy to think it just magically appeared at the grocery store, but it actually has these legendary ancient roots. To really understand the apple, we've got to travel back in time and trace its steps across the globe. It's a story of survival, of human travel along the ancient Silk Road, and of just an incredible transformation. Okay, let's dive right into this with Section 1, the father of apples. Scientists have actually traced the very first apples back to Central Asia. Specifically, they originated in the rugged, wild mountain forests of present-day Kazakhstan, which is, amazingly, the very starting line of the ancient trade routes. Imagine this landscape totally untouched by modern agriculture, where the ancestors of our modern fruit just grew completely wild. And what's really wild, pun intended, is that if you were to travel to those mountains today, you'd still find wild apples growing in those exact same forests. They are still there, rooted right in their ancient homeland. To truly understand how deeply this history is baked into the local geography, consider the city of Almaty, which is located right near those ancient forests. The name Almaty literally translates to father of apples. I mean, that's not just a fun fact, it's a permanent geographical monument to the birthplace of this incredible fruit. The region itself proudly claims its identity as the starting point of our story, kind of the launching pad for the apple's whole Silk Road adventure. Which brings us to Section 2, Journey on the Silk Road. The absolutely crucial point here is how it traveled, and that's all thanks to the Silk Road. This was the greatest ancient highway in the world, this massive, sprawling network connecting the East and the West. But here's the thing. The apple wasn't some prized trade good packed away in heavy chests. No way. Ancient traders inadvertently became global distributors. Picture an ancient merchant making this long, exhausting trek across continents and just tossing an apple core into the dirt by a campfire, or maybe carrying a few seeds in their pockets. The apple was just a quiet passenger, hitching a ride along this massive trade route, spreading seed by seed, mile by mile across the civilized world. Moving right along to Section 3, Myths and Cultivation. When those apple seeds finally reached the mighty civilizations of Greece and Rome at the western end of the trade routes, well, everything changed. The Greeks and Romans didn't just eat the wild apples, they actively cultivated them. They applied ancient agricultural techniques to dramatically improve their taste, basically turning a wild mountain crop into a delicious staple. But they did way more than just farm it. They actually elevated the apple right into their mythologies. It became this powerful symbol. It represented love, it was seen as an emblem of beauty, and it even stood as a profound symbol of knowledge in their stories in ancient texts. The ultimate Silk Road survivor had officially arrived in high society. Let's move to Section 4 and see how this builds, expanding across the world. During the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, we see this era of massive global expansion. As European settlers crossed oceans to arrive in the United States and other new regions, they made absolutely sure to bring these well-traveled apple seeds right along with them. In these new lands, apple orchards expanded rapidly. And this wasn't just about survival. It was an era of intense agricultural innovation. Farmers during these centuries experimented heavily with cultivation, crossing different trees to create entirely new varieties that were perfectly suited to these new climates. The apple had successfully leapt across oceans to entirely new hemispheres. And that leads us to Section 5, the modern global fruit. 7,500. Take a second to wrap your head around that. That is how many varieties of apples exist worldwide today. From a single wild species in the mountains of Kazakhstan, traveling down the dusty paths of the Silk Road and cultivated over millennia, we now have over 7,500 distinct types of apples. I mean, the sheer scale of that agricultural achievement is absolutely staggering. And this brilliantly illustrates something you're probably already familiar with. You might not know all 7,500 varieties, but you definitely recognize these famous names: Red Delicious, Granny Smith, Golden Delicious, Fuji, Gala. These guys completely dominate your local grocery store today. But think about it. Each one of these distinct flavors, colors, and textures is the direct result of that continuous chain of cultivation that started with those ancient travelers thousands of years ago. Today, the major modern empires of apple production include China, India, and the United States, producing apples on an unfathomable scale. And their culinary versatility? It's immense. We use them in juices, pies, intricate desserts, fresh salads, and just everyday snacks. It has integrated itself into nearly every single culinary culture on Earth. Which brings us to a phrase you have undoubtedly heard: an apple a day keeps the doctor away. This famous proverb didn't just come out of nowhere, you know? It stems directly from the fact that apples are incredibly rich in fiber and vitamins. Long before modern nutritional science could map out the exact dietary benefits, people intuitively understood that apples were incredibly healthy. That idea spread like wildfire and solidified the apple's reputation not just as a tasty treat, but as a completely crucial part of a healthy human diet. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this question. Next time you take a bite, will you taste the thousands of years of Silk Road history hidden inside? When you pack your lunch, remember that you aren't just holding a simple snack. You are holding a well-traveled survivor from the wild mountains of Central Asia. You're holding a symbol of Roman mythology, a quiet passenger of the ancient Silk Road, and a true testament to centuries of human cultivation. It truly is a legendary fruit.